Greetings, Eric Bakker, Naturopath. Thanks for coming back and looking at my video. I read an interesting comment from somebody on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, the Candida Crusher Channel, and this person's called Someonexx. So Someonexx writes, Doc, what happens if I jump straight into a high-fat diet coming from a mostly starch and fruit background? I'm on day 3. Well, note the word jump. What happens when you jump? What happens when you jump off a building? What happens when you jump off anything? You're probably going to hurt yourself. You're probably going to land pretty bad, eh? So jumping from a high-fat diet into a starch and fruit background, and when you're coming from a mostly starch and fruit background, it's not a good idea to change any kind of diet rapidly, right? Your gut can't handle massive big swings like that very quickly. You've got trillions of bacteria in your gut, several pounds in fact. You know, literally handfuls of bacteria you've got there. Now those bacteria are used to eating certain types of food. Now all of a sudden they're going to get different food coming in. So how do you think they're going to handle that? How do you think they're going to handle that? Not good at all, pretty bad. So the answer is, what happens is, well, I hope you got a good parachute. All right, that's what I'm trying to say. So, because people who jump need a good parachute. If they don't, they're going to fall pretty bad. You shouldn't be jumping. All right, I've never wanted to jump out of planes. I've never liked that whole idea. All right, I don't even believe in these reserve parachutes in case they don't open. So don't do it. Don't go for massive big diet swings. It never works. It never works. My industry is full of people who write diet books, and they'll quickly claim their diet is better than any other diet. Right? And if they don't claim that, people read it, get encouraged, and they'll do that type of diet. They'll drop that book, they'll pick up another book. You can see some of my books over there. I've got hundreds and hundreds of diet books from, you know, going right back to the 1920s. And some of them are really almost turn of the century, and people were recommending boiled milk, you know, things like that, to have boiled milk and white bread for rejuvenating foods for people. So people have always come out with diet books. The best diet for you, Someonexx, is the diet that suits you the best. So how do you work that out? You work it out instinctively. You work it out by trying to figure out what food sits well in your gut. What food, what protein, for example, gives you energy, gives you a boost, makes you feel good. What food makes you lethargic, makes you feel crappy. For example, we all know if you drank 3 or 4 bottles of whiskey a day, you wouldn't feel very good. So what's the point in drinking alcohol at all? You know, very small amounts over a prolonged period of time may be okay, but a high-fat diet is a bad idea. Think what it's going to do to your gallbladder. Think what it's going to do to your gut, your liver. Your digestive system won't handle the high-fat diet. So I would say you're going to end up feeling pretty crappy, pretty tired, and pretty toxic and pretty sick. So not a good idea. All right. So I would go back to the diet that you would normally eat, because you're right here, I'm coming from a mostly starch and fruit background, and slowly incorporate more and more fat in there, okay? Just little bits to begin with, perhaps. And slowly build that up until you take some of the fruit down, the starches down, and you start building up the fat. And then you've got to carefully look at the proteins that you're eating to make sure you're eating sufficient protein and the right kind to give you the energy that you're looking for. You know? That's how your body's going to find its set point, and your metabolic rate will work out fine. Your hormones will probably work quite well on that diet. But jumping from one thing to another, remember, it's like jumping out of a plane. Anything could happen. So be careful. Give us a reply, Someonexx. Thanks for the comment.